Sorry, just a sec. Okay, yeah, so I guess we'll start by introducing ourselves. My name is Sanjana Bajaj, and I'm from California, and I'm one of the national co-directors for the Tomorrow Project's outreach team. And the Tomorrow Project is an environmental education nonprofit that we'll be talking a little about here today.
Yeah, my name is Wednesday. I am a junior in California, and I am the other outreach co-director for the National Tomorrow Project team.
Yeah, so thank you all so much for being here. We're so grateful to have this opportunity to talk a little bit about our organization, the Tomorrow Project, and so just as a little quick overview, we'll start by talking about our mission and some of the work that the Tomorrow Project does, and then we'll get into a sneak peek of our environmental curriculum, and we'll wrap up with some of the important values that our organization tries to emphasize and incorporate in our work.
Yeah, so how the Tomorrow Project started. Members of the Tomorrow Project leadership team attended a climate strike and were inspired to no longer stand idly by as the climate crisis continued on. They began tracking down what some of the root causes were of climate change and identified that right now, sustainability isn't something that people are necessarily thinking about during every stage of their life, only when it's convenient for them. After thinking about this, one of our co founders, Neha, had the idea that we should be focusing on education and specifically with younger students. If kids are kind of taught about the environment and climate justice growing up, it'll always be in the back of their mind. They'll learn right from the beginning about how to live sustainably and bring that with them into communities and families and just their everyday life in the future. So, our mission with the idea that younger students should have a sustainable mindset from the very beginning, the Tomorrow Project was born with the mission to inspire a passion for the environment in younger generations by teaching, engaging, student developed environmental curriculum. I'd like to emphasize the passion and engaging part of this because one thing the Tomorrow Project really values is our for youth by youth mantra. We want environmental education to be something that kids are super excited about. And I remember when I was in elementary school. So, like, you know how you saw high schoolers and you always thought they were so cool? Like, you'd see them going on field trips or just like walking around, and you always thought, like, I can't wait to go to high school. And they just seem like such role models, even though you didn't even know who they were. So if we bring mentors into classrooms, it gets elementary school students really excited to teach them and hear from students so close to their age. And we want to ensure that we bring this passion and excitement into the classroom so students remember us and want us to keep coming back.
So in March of last year, applications opened up for students everywhere who are passionate about the environment to work within the Tomorrow Project in various teams and chapters that we'll get into in the next slide. So many others and I joined the Tomorrow Project at this time, and we were really excited to be part of this new virtual community and have something fun and engaging to work on during quarantine when everything just changed all of a sudden. So our organization had basically just started as 4 high school students in Washington, like Wednesday was talking about, but it has now grown to over 130 volunteers and 10 chapters across the US and in India. As we all know, the pandemic has made connecting, working, and teaching together often a struggle, but our organization has been trying our best to work through this, and we've been working very hard to adapt our curriculum to these very difficult circumstances. And so, although we're really excited to go back into the classroom and teach our curriculum face to face and lead those like interactive hands-on workshops, this virtual setting has enabled us to reach and work with so many new people and so many new students. So in a post-COVID-19 era, we really hope that this extensive collaboration and reach will continue to empower youth activists everywhere. So now for a little bit about our different teams and chapters that I was talking about. So international sector, we have 6 teams: curriculum and social justice, which we'll touch on a bit later in the presentation, as well as a marketing team, science and research, finance, and outreach, which Wednesday and I are part of. So our organization is also comprised of 10 chapters located in the States and in the states across the country, as well as one in Bangalore in India. Our chapters all work towards a vision of helping to create a climate conscious future generation at a very local level. They work with nearby school districts and lead community efforts to work towards our goal of a more sustainable future.
So, like Sanjana was saying, we kind of got our momentum through COVID. And that's when we got all our volunteers and expanded into multiple chapters. But COVID has, of course, forced us to completely re envision how we are approaching our mission, as we could no longer visit classrooms to run interactive workshops. After some serious brainstorming and research, our national curriculum team started producing online content such as games, worksheets, recipes, and animated videos, all of which are available for free on our website to make it the most accessible as possible. They also began the Tomorrow Project module series, which are free week-long groups of materials on various environmental subjects such as ecosystems and energy. Our thought here being that teachers who needed new content for online learning or parents who needed activities for their kids to complete a home could access and use these modules with minimal stress or planning on their end and really focus on the environmental lessons within the material. And this is why our material is so perfect for summer, because it's just there are week-long modules that can keep kids active and learning and engaged, and especially with the videos, and now we have all these games. It's just a really fun thing to do. So and we've seen that young kids really enjoy these modules. So here's an example of our modules and videos. That's kind of how our week-long modules look, the layout of them in the PDF form. And you can go visit our modules on the Tomorrow Project website under modules. And here's one of our educational videos. This is the ecosystems one.
Ooh, I think I might need to share my audio. Sorry, one sec.
Ecosystem. What does that word mean to you? It probably makes you think about a tropical rainforest with snakes and monkeys, or maybe a desert with bats and cacti. But ecosystems can be all shapes and sizes, and they exist all around us. Even something as small as a pine cone can be considered an ecosystem. So, how do you define an ecosystem? Well, an ecosystem is really just a cycle of matter and nutrients. There are 4 main components of the cycle. Component 1, abiotic components. Every ecosystem contains abiotic or non-living factors. These are things such as rocks, water, or wind. An Arctic ecosystem, for example, contains a lot of ice and chilly winds, while a desert ecosystem could contain a lot of rocks and minerals. Component 2, producers. An ecosystem should have plenty of producers that help convert energy into nutrients. Plants are a common example of producers. Through a process called photosynthesis, they convert light energy from the sun into food. Component 3, consumers. Once the producers have converted energy, something has to eat the nutrients. This is where animals such as you and me come in. There are 3 different types of consumers: herbivores that only eat producers, carnivores eat other animals, and omnivores that get the best of both worlds. Component 4, decomposers. These are the recyclers of the ecosystem. Decomposers break down waste and dead organisms so that the nutrients can be returned into the ecosystem to be used by producers once again. Examples of decomposers include worms, fungi, and beetles. All 4 components pass energy and nutrients to each other in a constant cycle, ensuring a stable ecosystem. In this next example of an ecosystem, you will see how each component interacts with the others. Can you spot the 4 components? The sun's rays shine down to the earth where plants convert the light into sugar. The plant uses this sugar to grow. One day, this plant grows into a big tree and sprouts fruit and seeds. Birds and squirrels eat these fruits and seeds and use the glucose stored in the plant for energy. Some fruit doesn't get eaten and falls to the forest floor, but these uneaten fruits don't go to waste. Fungi break down the fruit into the soil that is used by other plants for important nutrients and minerals. The squirrel continues with its life until it gets caught and eaten by a fox. Eventually, the fox will die and be broken down so its nutrients and energy can be recycled and used by other forms of life once again. Did you see how each of the 4 components of the ecosystem all function together? It's amazing how everyone in the ecosystem has a job and nothing goes to waste.
So yeah, that was just a little sneak peek into our curriculum, and we hope you enjoyed, and we'll leave some links to the rest of our modules and our videos at the end of this presentation if you'd like to check them out. Okay.
So, like I said, we have a very strong philosophy of elementary student and mentor high school students. We really want that for youth by youth aspect. And so all of our chapters switched to running virtual workshops and lessons. For example, our Ventura chapter ran a workshop series on composting. Our DC and Lake Washington chapters teamed up to run a waterworks lesson. And our Sacramento chapter did a workshop on plastic pollution. Me and Sanjana, or I have done a few workshops myself. We made a reusable bag and it was a lot of fun. And even those can be with parents as well because they're so interactive. So it's not a bulk of information that is kind of too kiddie. It's really like a fun activity you can do with like your family. And these are just a few of our incredible workshops that our chapters have put together and ran since the pandemic began last March.
So the environmental topics that our organization really focuses on in our curriculum intersect with a lot of relevant issues such as racism and poverty. And as many of us realize, justice and equity is a super critical topic when it comes to learning about climate change. Unfair disparities definitely exist in which certain communities are affected by these environmental problems far more than others. So in June of 2020, the Tomorrow Project established our social justice and equity team. This team works really hard to ensure that these prevalent issues of climate justice are being addressed in our learning materials and taught to students. So these can definitely be some difficult topics to introduce to kids, but with our online materials, we're constantly working on ways that we can develop these materials so that they inspire students to want to make change when they're older. Because ultimately these students are going to be the CEOs, lawyers, doctors, politicians of the future. And so we believe it's really important that they're empowered with the relevant knowledge surrounding these climate justice issues so that they can make well-informed decisions in the career of their choice. So with these goals in mind, the SJE team works hard to produce content across our platforms on climate justice, and I'll get to a couple of these on the next slide. Yeah, so pictured here in the center is one of the social justice team's first projects from last year, which is a resource guide surrounding environmental racism for older elementary school and middle school students. It touches on some key terms like gentrification, institutionalized racism, and then it gets to a timeline of some key events in the history of this issue, and just kind of wraps up with some ways that students can learn more if they're interested. And this is just really one example of a resource that we hope teachers can use to introduce this topic to students in the classroom. And in addition to educating our younger students, the Tomorrow Project also works hard to reach other teenagers as well through platforms like social media and even just on our website. Our teams work together to produce infographics like the ones that you see on the side. And we also, this kind of includes information like climate action, disparities in climate change, and kind of like some leaders in the movement, female leaders, for example, here. And our website also has a blog section in which members here on the outreach team for the Tomorrow Project, like Wednesday and I, write more in-depth blogs on these topics. And we also invite some other organizations to speak about the work that they're up to. Ultimately, here at the Tomorrow Project, we all want to see a world where students have a really deep understanding of various environmental topics. And so we all kind of help out in this organization utilizing our own interests, like, for example, graphic design, like with these infographics or writing, or even just science. And so we all kind of get to learn from each other in that way as well.
Yeah, so talking a little more about our by youth for youth model, all of our curriculum is developed by students, taught by students, and dispersed by students. Through our peer-to-peer model of teaching, we're able to showcase to youth not just the importance of sustainable habits, but also what it's like to pursue something that you're passionate about. Young kids look up to high school students and see older kids as mentors and role models that they want to learn from and be like. Um, Through our workshops, we've seen this impact of our youth-led model. Additionally, we've also seen how important hands-on activities are when we teach students. Activities that stimulate their creativity and learning make them more passionate and engaged in the activity. Like I said, with the reusable bag, it's just a lot of fun to see kids get involved and want to learn. We're happy to integrate our workshops with the work that teachers are doing to best supplement students with these hands-on activities.
So this is we're kind of wrapping up our presentation now. Please feel free to check out our website if you would like to access our free curriculum that's available for you to use at any time. And you can also email us over here if you have any questions whatsoever. And we also have an Instagram account where we post educational content, updates, and infographics like the one we were talking about earlier. And this link over here is kind of just like a master document of all of our resources. Let me try to put it in the chat really quickly. Yeah, so over here you can find our email addresses and our website and everything. And now we're just gonna open the floor up for any questions that anybody has, and we'll be happy to answer them.